Do you have any regrets about the way that Kip Williams put the show together with all of the LEDs, all of the cameras?
No, I love it. It's genius.
I was hating so much of it, but your performance was just so excellent. But at the end, I feel like such an insult to theater.
An insult.
But not you. I'm in such conflict with the entire thing.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good option.
All right, just finished Dorian Gray. I tell you, Wilde's words in this play really couldn't be unraveled by the mess of the show what it was. I mean, the words was quite powerful, and the script is timeless. And there's a story that is worthy of being heard, but they did everything they could to try to destroy theater for what it is. We don't go to the theater in order to watch a movie. And I'm so conflicted because Sarah Snook did an incredible performance, but didn't allow the audience to see it. Nonetheless, I found myself being gripped by the story and wrestling with this monstrosity that just drove me to hate. I mean, throughout the entire show, I was just imagining standing up at the curtain call and just booing the entire performance. And this time with the technical team actually on stage. If you recall, for the Stranger Things, I expected the technical team to be on stage and I would have applauded them. But with this show, I hated every single second of what they did to theater. I despise the production team. I don't despise Sarah. I don't think that this thing was anything more than, in her mind, a way to create a wonderful portfolio, a resume. Often Broadway is used as a staple in between their roles in Hollywood or television or whatever it might be. And this, for Sarah Snook, is most certainly a wonderful resume, and it does portray her talent. And if I was a casting director, I would say that this show would be evidence that I would want to have her, in my production. However, for theater being what theater is, how dare you? I'm so wildly angry because I've never seen this show before, and this show is worthy of a full production. They have pre-recordings. It's just, you can't possibly do the theater justice. We don't go to the theater in order to see stuff like this. And the very fact that Sarah was able to take this thing that I so loathed and I so hated all the way through, but yet it just sucked the emotion out of me. And the Oscar Wilde's words, just the playwright here, it couldn't be undone by this monstrosity of a production. I mean, the technical team couldn't even pull it off to begin with. Pink artifacting all over the screens, which I believe have to do with the low latency and the compression that's necessary in order to deliver this at near real time, probably under 20 milliseconds. However, I did see consistency on the LED screens and certain portions of the screens, where if a show was so heavily dependent on screens themselves that they would possibly have bad panels still present within the stage, would just be absolutely ridiculous. I happen to be on the technical side of things, so I think this is more or less artifacting. They must have been using a protocol that's far greater than NDI in order to give this in near real time between the sound and the imagery hitting the screens. However, I just have to say that it wasn't up until the place started getting really dark, around 60% way through, that I actually started to fall in love with the storyline. I found it to be very difficult to even comprehend with the change of characters. And all of these pre-recorded characters, the audience was, we weren't the audience, the camera was the damn audience. And So much so that even when you could see Sarah on stage, the cameramen were blocking every view of Sarah for such a significant portion of the show, just to drive someone like myself into rage and hatred for the production, where I really was fighting my own demonic thoughts. See, this show is about a personification of evil, and it's about the image of Dorian Gray. And his perception of his beauty, that he wanted to remain over time, and therefore, after having given in to evil, he's now wrestling with evil spirits within himself. I felt the very same phenomenon because of the destruction of the artistic form and the imagining of the Tonys having given Sarah Snook a Best Musical award for this performance. On one part, I say well-deserved. On another part, I say travesty and disgusting and a horror to Broadway and a horror to live theater. So, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually extremely angry. And this isn't performance. I'm also extremely twisted and mixed in my opinions, but not because of the production quality. Director gets an F, right? The creative director gets an F. This is an epic failure. Sarah, I would prefer if she hadn't even been acknowledged because of such a destruction of live theater and performance in New York City. However, no one can doubt that her performance was absolutely masterful, but we couldn't see it. What good is it to have a performance like this when she's behind a screen 80% of the time? Literally behind a screen, giving no care or cause to the audience. Typically when we're putting together a show, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that if you're in the right side or you're in the left side of the theater, if you're in the mezzanine, we're going to sort of have a distribution where you'll be able to see the actor's presence and their face and different characteristics here. Here, what they do is they bury the actor behind the scene, and every detail of the set isn't created for the audience, but it's created for the cameras. So again, I'm wrestling so very, very, very much with this because at the end, it did manage to capture my attention. And at the end, I don't want to give in to the fact that they destroyed. We spent the last 15 years on Broadway trying to figure out how to, in order to use LED screens properly, and inevitably we decided not to use it for a full production capacity such as this, and not even using it as background sets, but use it to apply texture. And they threw away all of the lessons that we've learned in the past 15 years. They threw it all away to create this moving picture silhouette of not one big giant screen, but multiple screens as they moved across the stage, emulating characters. Is this thing worthy of a Broadway stage? Absolutely not. It's worthy of a garbage can. Is it worthy of being extended? Is it worthy of the applause of the audience? Only for Sarah Snook herself. And as my hand shakes, it's because of how disgusted I am with the amateur act that they pulled the wool over our eyes with this what they call a technical masterpiece or a technical demonstration of what we can do in the theater. This is not what we want in the theater. We want less cameras. If a younger version of me probably would have been so full of himself to stand up in the middle of the show and boo it, and perhaps even get big fines for that case. The thoughts are wrestling in my mind about jumping up out of my seat and just destroying the cameras. I literally wanted to attack the cameraman and attack as they just destroyed every potential that you could have had and have the suspension of disbelief. How are you supposed to tell a story like this with every single moment being interfered with by cameras and cameramen and LED screens just shoved in front of your face? And this is even for somebody who's willing to recognize that they happened to somehow pull it together to where it was at least somehow artistically done, but never to be replicated again. And I'd like to teach these people a lesson. Is right now I'm sitting outside the stage door, and who's going to come outside? The technical team? No, it's going to be Sarah. And what am I going to do? Am I going to boo Sarah Snook for such an incredible performance? Absolutely not. I'm deliberating what to give this thing, but I'm tempted just to say that this is a 45. right? Unworthy of a Broadway stage. And everybody involved in the creative process of this should be absolutely barred, fired, and haunted.
First of all, thank you. Thank you. You were beyond brilliant.
Sarah, you were so wonderful.
Never seen anything
So wonderful.
like
Congratulations.
Do you have any regrets about the way that Kip Williams put the show together, with all of the LEDs, all of the cameras?
No, I love it. He's a genius.
I was hating so much of it, but your performance was just so excellent. But at the end, I feel like such an insult to theater.
An insult.
But not you. I'm in such conflict with the entire thing.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good op then. Oh, right.
Kip Williams is the blame.